So what we generally write when we write distribution function is f of x is equal to probability that x will take a value x. So if you recall the example that we had, the f of x that we wrote was, what was that? 6 minus absolute value of x minus 7 divided by 36. So if we put x takes, x is a random variable, this capital X is a random variable, these are the values that this random variable is taking, right? So if I insert any of the value of this random variable, I get the probability associated with that value. So for example, if I do 6 minus, if x takes a value, if x is equal to say 3, then it is 3 minus 7 divided by 36, which is 3 minus 7 is 4, 6 minus 4 is 2. So do we get this value for 3? Yeah. When the sum is 2, the probability is 1 by 36. When the sum is 3, probability is 2 by 36. When we are rolling two dice, and we are counting the sum of those, sum of the uppermost surfaces on those dice. Okay, right. So this is the idea that we have when we are writing a distribution function. Now, as I said in the earlier class, that distribution function is the characteristic of the distribution. So, how do you describe a distribution? You describe a distribution by describing its function. Okay. So basically, what we write is sum f of x. Right. Now, in case of say discrete random variables, generally x are these x are separate values, and so writing a function is relatively a easy job, or comparatively less complex. As we go to continuous random variables, it would become slightly more complex thing, but anyway we would be going to continuous distribution functions very soon. Well, now what are the characteristics that this f of x is supposed to have, so that we say that this f of x is a distribution function? The f of x must be greater than, it should be greater than 0 or 0. Okay, should be greater than 0 or 0. It cannot be a value that is smaller than 0. Why? It cannot be the value that is smaller than 0 because it is probability. Probability has to lie between 0 and 1. It has to be greater than 0. And if we do summation from x to whatever the values x takes of the fx, then this sum has to be 1. So if x takes any values from x to whatever the values are, the sum of the fx has to be 1. That is our second axiom of probability, that what is that second axiom? P of s is equal to 1, right? And also, if x are discrete, in the sense if they're mutually exclusive, then you can simply do the operation of sum. That's what the third axiom tells us. Basically, if this is followed, then we can do, if the distribution function is following these two rules, then we can easily do the we can use it as a distribution function for a given random variable. Now, we must specify for this particular example, we must specify, which we did not do, which we implicitly assume, is the values x can take. And x, this distribution function is valid. This distribution function is valid only for the values of x that are from 2 to 12. After that and below that, if x takes a value 1, doesn't exist in this random variable. X taking a value 1 doesn't exist in the random variable. X taking a value 13 also doesn't exist in this random variable. This random variable takes into account only values from 2 to 12. Okay, so here, so you can also do some amount of R as you learn R, and you can try and write a distribution function in R for this formula. This formula can easily be translated into R, and you can find out the probabilities in R by using this. Okay. We can take variety of other examples, simple examples. What perhaps you can do is you can take that simple problem that we have discussed and work it out as a homework assignment, that we are doing 2 experiments. We are doing 2 problem solving experiments. Okay, this is an example that you should solve. We are doing 2 problem solving experiments, which results in, each of which is resulting into 2 outcomes. Outcome number 1 is success, outcome number 2 is failure. We know the sample space for this particular experiment is SS, SF, FS and FF. Okay, now you create a random variable that would give us, we have already done this exercise of doing a random variable out of this by assigning a point to each of the outcomes. So now, as an assignment, what you do is look at this process and try and write a random variable, try and write a distribution function for this problem, right? So x is going to take how many values in this example? X will take 0, 1 and 2. It is going to take a value of 2 here, because we will assign 1 point for success. 1 point for success makes it 2. Only 1 point, 0 points. So the random variable would take only 3 values, 0, 1, 2, 3. Now if random variable is taking 3 values, then how do we get the probabilities associated with the random variables? The probabilities associated are 0.25 with 0, 0.5 with 1 and 0.25 with 2, right? So we need to work out with this random variable, right? Now let me explain the next concept, which is relatively easy to work with. Can I erase this? Which is relatively easy to work with, and that is expected value. Okay? Expected value. Now, what is expected value? Expected value is nothing but the average. Okay? This is another name that we use for average. But, well, we should understand that when we have something called as random variables, okay? Random variables are not values, okay? But they are distribution functions. So if I know f of x, which is probability that x is equal to x, and I want to know, now my problem is, I want to know if this is f of x, then what will be the mean of this random variable? Okay? Now, how do we compute mean generally? To solve this problem, we go back to our ordinary methods of computing mean. How do we compute mean? We compute mean by doing yes, x bar is equal to summation I is equal to 1 to n xi divided by n. Right? This is how we compute it. Or which also means that 1 upon n summation xi. Right? Right? Now let's take a very small set of values. Okay? I take a very small set of values and try and do this. Suppose I have following, my x is as follows. Okay? 2, 2, 2, 4 and 5. Okay? So what I'll do the additions of each of them. So my x bar will be addition of all of them, that is 2 into 2 into 2. Sorry, why am I writing into plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 4 plus 5, all of this divided by 5. That is my sample size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number of observations I have, n is equal to 5. Number of observations. Right? Now, I can express this in much simpler manner. Okay? My x bar actually is, I have 3 times 2, right? I have 3 times 2. So, 3 into 2, right? Plus, I have 1 times 4 plus I have 1 times 5 divided by 5, right? Which actually can be further expressed as I can actually take the denominator for each of the separate numerator values, and then this is 3 by 5 into 2, right? 3 by 5, I'm just using denominator separately for each of the values. So it is 3 by 5 into 2 plus this is 1 by 5 into 4 plus 1 by 5 into 5, right? Right? Now, can somebody tell me what have I written? If you realize, what is 3 by 5? 3 by 5, as I rightly said, is the probability of getting 2. So what am I doing? I am taking a value x and multiplying it by its own probability. Then I am taking another value and multiplying it by its own probability. Then I am taking next value and multiplying that value by its probability. So actually what I am doing is x multiplied by px. Okay, so I take it here. Okay, what I am doing is x into probability of x, and then I am adding them. So I am doing summation of x px, and this is what I am doing. And what is this? This is average. But if, why is this useful? I call now this as expectation of x. Now what is this expectation x, which is generally called as expected value? What is the utility of this expected value? Say, let's solve this problem first and then we work out the utility. Okay? X bar is 3 by 5 into 2 gives us 6. 3 by 5 into 2. What is this value? 0.6. What is this value? 3 by 5. 1.2. This is 0.6. 0.6 multiplied by 2 is 1.2. This is 0.2. 0.2 multiplied by 4 is 0.8. 0.8. Plus, this is again 0.2 multiplied by 5. So, it's 1. 1.0, which sums to 1.2 plus 0.8 is 2 plus 1, 3. This our sum is 15 divided by 5 is 3. So if you want to see it in the most simplest manner, this is another expression of getting the average, right? Now, what is the advantage? What is the advantage? Okay, the advantage lies in the fact that to compute x bar in this manner, I need values of x. I need some values of x. What if I just have the distribution function p of x? If I only know p of x, and if I want to know what will be the mean of x if x follows p of x, right? If I have a question that what will be the mean of x if x follows whatever the distribution it follows, then this would be extremely useful to me. So suppose what I can perhaps do, which I'm not going to do, is I compute expected value for the earlier distribution function that we have written. X takes values from 2 to 12 for the earlier thing. So what was my distribution function? Into 6 minus x minus 7 upon 36. So what I will do is I will not put in values into this. I will solve this. So this sum is I is equal to 2 to 12, because x will take values from 2 to 12. And I solve this. So I do the sum, I keep on doing this. This should give me the mean of this random variable without having any of the value actually written in the random variable, right? So I'm interested in getting the mean of the random variable. Now this is a useful expression. Expectation x is equal to summation x px is a very useful expression for discrete random variables, where x would be separate values. We have not discussed continuous random variables, but for continuous random variables, the expression is something like this, which we shall learn in sometime in a class, in this class perhaps. The expression is something like this. Since variables are continuous, you cannot do summation, or the summation if you do for continuous variables is integration. So negative infinity to positive infinity, xpx remains the same. Dx is the constant that you get for the integration. Okay, so those who have done some maths at some level would understand that this is a constant of the integration, and integration nothing but the summation of the given continuous random variable. Right. Now let's take the simplest of the example on the earth, that is, we have a random variable. It is not a straight line. I did not draw it right. This should be something like this. Okay, my drawing is not clear. Okay, so let's take the simplest example on the earth, that is, this is a random variable that takes only two values. Okay, let's take example of tossing a coin or a problem solving experiment which results in either failure or success. okay, which results into either failure or success. So x will be either 0 or 1. X will be either 0 or 1. Now, I also make an assumption that probability of x is equal to 0 is equal to probability of x is equal to 1 is equal to 1 by. Okay, this is what I assume. That is, both the outcomes are equally likely. I assume that both the outcomes are equally likely. Now, if probability of x is equal to 0 is equal to probability of x is equal to 1 is 1/2, that is 0.5 is the probability that we'll get a value of x which is equal to either 0 or 1. So, both the outcomes are equally likely. Okay. Once we do this, then what is the px? What is the px? 0.5. Px is 0.5, right? So, what is the distribution function? P of x is 0.5, okay, which is what it is. Now, given that if I want to compute the mean of this random variable, then what will I do? I will do expectation, because I know the px. Okay, so expectation of this random variable is equal to summation x px, summation x into px. Now, let's work through it. My px is probability of getting x is 0.5. So, let me take the first value of x. First value of x. First value of x is 0, right? What is the probability of getting 0? 1 by 2, right? 0.5. Okay. What is the next value of this random variable? 1. What is the probability of getting 1? 1 by 2. 1 over 2, right? Now, work through. This is 0. This is 0.5. So 0.5 is the expectation of this random variable. 0.5 is the expectation of this random variable. If we take a random variable, that gives us only two outcomes with equal chance of either of them occurring, and they are mutually exclusive, right? So this is how you would perhaps solve this problem. We would perhaps, when we go to Poisson distribution, which is easy comparatively to demonstrate, I would also show you how do we actually work through this problem and get a specific mean of a distribution. So, for example, Poisson distribution is supposed to have a mean of lambda. Okay, so how do we arrive to this Mr. Lambda? By taking expectation x for px that is being followed by Poisson distribution, that is e raised to negative lambda, lambda raised to x upon x factorial. So I would perhaps put that px here and try and solve it and try and reach to the value called as lambda, right? So this is one attribute of distribution function. The second attribute of a distribution function is the variance. Perhaps I would not remove this. Expected value is the average. So we need, yes?
So when do we use the last expression?
This one?
Yes.
This one is used when your variable is continuous. This expression is used when your variable sigma x px, expectation x is equal to summation x px is expected value of a discrete random variable. expectation is x is equal to integration from negative infinity to positive infinity. X px dx is used when the variable is continuous. Now what is the difference we have not discussed, but as we go ahead we shall perhaps discuss that difference. Right? Yeah.
How are you going to use this expected values in a distribution? Why this expected value is being calculated?
To get the mean of that distribution. If I know, see, what is the mean of a normal distribution? Mean, mode and mu, median are same, but what are they? All of them are central tendencies. We need to know expected value of a distribution because we need to know what is the center of the distribution. That is why we need an expected value. For normal distribution, the center lies at mu. Okay, mu is the mean of a normal distribution. Sigma square is the variance of a normal distribution. Right? So we need to know two things. One, what is the center of the distribution? Okay, and how the rest of the distribution is spread around that center. So what is the center of the distribution is given by expected value. Now we are not talking about a particular experiment or particular sample data. Please keep this idea away from your mind that we are looking at some sample data. Sample data is not something that we are looking at right now. We would be going to sample data and we would analyze sample data and would make some inferences about the unknown population parameters by using the data. But right now we are just doing probability. Okay, so we are looking at distributions as they are theoretically worked out. So if I say that there's a distribution called as binomial distribution, then what will be the mean of that binomial distribution? That is, what is the expected value of that binomial distribution? Right? That is what I am primarily concerned about right now. So which means that where is the center of the random variable that follows a distribution called binomial? Where is the center of the distribution that follows normal? Would be the expected value of normal distribution. So the question I am answering is, if there's some random variable that follows some known theoretical distribution, then where is the center of that distribution is what is expected value. This is an important question because if I know where the center is and in a sample data I get some value and I know where the center is, I quickly get to know how far this value is from the center. This has far-fetched implication for inference because all my statistics are random variables. All the statistics I do is some kind of a random variable. If I don't know the expected value of the random variable that I'm using as my statistics, then I cannot do inference. It's essential to know the mean and the variance, that is the expected value and the variance of the random variable. As we go ahead, you would perhaps understand the value of doing this. Well, variance. Variance of a random variable, if x is a random variable, then the variance of x can be obtained by expectation of x minus mu. It can be obtained by expectation of x minus mu, the whole square. So what I do is I take expectation x minus mu, the whole square. Okay, so this is what my variance is all about. So what I also perhaps can do is, since I have square, I can use simple expressions that expectation of what will happen will be x